Hello, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. Last week I shared fun alternate project ideas using the contents of the June 2021 paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up! Titled Expressions in Color, and today I'd like to share with you a few more ideas. I'll be using a few extra supplies as I share the unique projects that I have. You can find those items listed below and linked to my online store, as well as links to getting your subscription started, information about paper pumpkin kits, and more. This flyer came in the June Expressions in Color kit. It's to introduce you to the Expressions in Ink suite in the annual catalog. You can see it shows off the paper there, but this kit not only coordinates with the paper, but it coordinates with stamp images, with the dies, with the ephemera pack. I did briefly introduce a lot of these products in my first video, but I'm going to be focusing on the dies today and how wonderful they are if you have one of those die cutting tools or if you want to invest in one. I'm also going to bring in the paper that is part of this suite as well, in my first card in particular. So the first card you can see looks very similar to the cards that you can create with this kit. The cards that you can make with this kit, however, they're consumable, of course, and so they're going to run out eventually. So if you want to make more and more cards and you didn't get in on like a refill kit or something, you can take the designer paper and the dies from the Expressions in Ink suite in the annual catalog and make that similar look. You're going to have some of these leftover pieces, so I'd say, hey, if you're in love with that suite, you might as well invest in it. In fact, it's such a stunning suite that they actually featured it on the front of the annual catalog. Okay, we're going to bring in our die cutting machine. This is Stampin' Up's Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And we've got our platform and our layers here. So we've got platform number 1. We have the thin die adapter plate, and then we have cutting mat 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then we have another cutting mat here. We're going to place, I want to show you all the dies here. So these are the dies that come in that suite. You can buy them separately if you just want the dies. We're going to use these dies with a scrap of basic white cardstock. So I've lined up the die within the cardstock edges here. The cutting surface is down, and I'm just going to place these sticky notes across the top to hold my die in place. Then I'm going to put it against my scratchier of my two mats, sandwich them together, and I'm going to flip them upside down. You get a little bit more accurate cut when you are cutting with your blade up because it's hitting the top roller more directly. Running it through twice, as long as you don't move it, is also going to ensure a nice deep cut. So we'll remove the sticky notes. And then we're just going to bring in our die brush. This helps to remove all those little inner pieces quickly. Makes some fun confetti too. And it helps to push the die cut cardstock out away from the actual die. So eventually as you go like this, you can see it starts to loosen. And then you can grab it and carefully peel it away from the metal die. And see what a beautiful look. And it's for this reason that you'll want to invest. Isn't this cool? It's the same image, just in a die cut instead of a printed vellum piece. So we'll use that, and we're going to bring in our base colored cardstock, because if we're going to make extras with any leftovers from the kit, you'll need to have your own cardstock for that. We're going to cut it in half. Half of 11 is 5.5 inches, so we cut at the 5.5 inch mark. We're going to rotate this cardstock, bring it to the 4.25 inch mark. Half of 8.5 is 4.25, and we're going to use the light blade to score it. So now we have a card base. I'm just going to quickly bring in my bone folder and give that a good crease. And we could totally go with just adding this beautiful image with a little sentiment label. Where did it go? Here it is. Like this. You could have a card just like that. It would look very similar to the one in the kit, only in different shades, but the same type of layout. Or we can bring in some of that beautiful paper. The one that I'm going to be sharing from this 12 by 12 pack is this dark green one, which looks similar to the evening evergreen color when they're put close together, because you have lots of different shades of this shaded spruce. So this is a different green, but they're very similar when they're brought together. So I've cut that down to 5¼ by 4 inches, so it becomes a layer onto the front of our evening evergreen piece. I've also got a matching size layer of basic white, same cardstock as this, for the inside of the card. And you can see I've already stamped the "You Are Amazing" on one of my extra labels, because you are going to end up with extra labels, so you might as well use them. And I love that the Bumblebee ink color really shows off that gold in this designer paper. Normally I don't add that many dimensionals on the back of a label, but the dimensionals are going to be the acting adhesive for this piece too. You can see on the finished card that I've got it set up like this, and so we're just going to come in and put our label right through here. Then we're going to flip it over and we're going to add even more adhesive. So you're just going to come and you're going to run your seal adhesive along the back side of the die cut white area, just to give it a little bit more stickiness. Now for embellishments, I'm going to pretend like I ran out of the twine that comes in the kit. So instead I'm going to bring in these beautiful in color jewels, which have that evening evergreen color in there. That's the green. And then also you can see that there's this beautiful yellow color, which tends to take on and enhance any yellow color or gold color that's on your card. So we're just going to use that to embellish this spot here, and this spot maybe right here. Pretty, right? And super easy to make. The next card is going to feature this die. This is another die that comes in that set, and it's beautiful. And we're going to use the scraps from this vellum piece in the kit to die cut some more leaves. So I'm just going to strategically try to figure out where they cut the best. I think I can get a couple here, those two, and maybe these two from there. So those two sections of the die are now cut. And I can kind of cut these down, trim off any excess pieces that I don't want. I've already cut and scored this second section of evening evergreen cardstock, and I've got my layer of basic white for the inside of my card. Now I'm going to bring in one of my extra words. So you had extra vellum sections to cut, and now you have these extra words. You're going to have some extras from the kit, and we might as well use those up. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is that when you put adhesive on the back of vellum, it tends to show through. The thing that we can do that will help reduce that, though, is to put our adhesive behind where the printed sections of the vellum are. So where the words are printed, where the white is here. And we'll just take our glue dots, because they're nice and thin, and we can put those behind here and there. Now these pieces here, they don't have any printed areas, so you have to get a little bit more creative, and we actually want to tuck these pieces. I think I'm going to go like this with them. We're going to tuck them kind of underneath the M here in the corner, like that. You may have noticed, though, that there's kind of a curling that has happened to that vellum after it got cut. So we're going to use the bone folder and our thumb, and we're just going to sandwich the vellum in there and just kind of try to straighten it out a little bit. That way, when we place it onto our card, we don't have to worry about it lifting up too much. So what I did is I placed glue dots behind the leaves in those areas, but you can see them, right? So then what we do is we hide them. We use our embellishments. Now we can use the jewels, and you can also use any leftover sequins from the kit. And there is that finished card. Very simple, very sweet, very easy. Here's another version using the German word and some of the pink jewels. And now we're going to move away from the dies, but I'm going to introduce you to another thing that your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine does, and that's emboss. And do you see this? This is a pair of embossing folders. It's called the Thanks and Hello embossing folders. We have our hello in multiple languages, and then we have our thank you in multiple languages, which coordinates super well with our kit, right? Then we're going to bring in some vellum. So we actually sell sheets of vellum. They're 8.5 by 11 sheets. I cut this one down to, I believe, 2.5 by just under 5, so 4 3/4 inches. Yes. And we're going to place that into our embossing folder, like so. And then we're going to bring our machine in. We're going to rearrange the plates. So instead of having this die adapter, number 2, if I can grab it, there we go. You're going to remove the die adapter, and you're just going to sandwich this between the 2 clear plates on top of the platform. Those rollers are going to press that embossing folder against whatever cardstock or vellum you have in there. And with vellum, you get this magical look. What happens is it breaks the fibers of the vellum, and the fibers whiten. So they really stand out on vellum. Now we could have taken a piece that was 3.25 inches by 4 3/4 inches and covered the whole surface of the note card that comes in the kit. But what I want to do is to create just kind of a little fun fold. I love doing fun folds. So I'm going to trim off 3/4 inch from the front of this card. I'm going to keep this, grab my bone folder, and we're going to press that down. On the inside, we're going to go ahead and attach this strip so that it will line back up with the card when it's closed. In fact, let's close the card and then add it. That will help Rachel. Close the card, and now we can add it. There we go. Then we're going to take one of those layers from the kit that look like this, that were intended to go on the front of the card, and we're going to cut it down so that we are getting a 5/8 inch piece, and that is going to layer right here. Okay, we want to add this to the front, and we can do that same tip where we add adhesive strategically where it's the whitest or whatever, but there's a lot of thin lines on this embossed piece of cardstock, and so instead let's do where we place a little label across and we put adhesive back there like that. So let's go ahead and just kind of figure out where it's going to go, and I believe I'm going to have it right about here. Now you could finish the whole thing and then put the label on and then the adhesive, but I've already got a finished one to look at. So I'm kind of cheating. But yeah, you can always add this adhesive at the end and then stick the whole thing on at once. I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. You can see what happens when you can see adhesive through. It's not pretty. Now we can go ahead and stamp this. We'll take out our Evening Evergreen color and our big thanks word. And now we're going to flip this over and we're going to add adhesive to the back side. And we're going to start taking our twine from the kit. I'm just going to make loops. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be anything symmetrical. You just make loops. Then we'll grab our dimensionals, and you want them to kind of go all the way along the back. It helps to hold the twine in place. And when we add the leaves, which are next, we can pretty much add them anywhere because we have dimensionals all across the back. So this is the way one of your clusters of leaves looks. And we're going to cut it. So we're going to have different sections of that leaf area. And when we place this onto our card, we're not going to stick it down quite yet. We're going to flip these over, and we want our leaves to be in the section down here, so that when the card opens, we can see a bit of green leaf. So I'm going to just kind of angle that like that. And then we'll go over the top of the areas where the dimensionals kind of got covered up a bit. We'll place that back down onto the card, covering up the adhesive behind the vellum. You can either grab sequins from the kit, or you can bring in some more of these fun jewels. The lighter green is soft succulent, so it's a color that coordinates really well with the evening evergreen color. And when we open this up, you can see that little hint of the green leaf towards the top there. This is another card that I made using the same type of system. These are the clusters, I think it's this one here, from the green leaf piece. So slightly different, but pretty much the same. Lots of green today. It is my favorite color, so maybe that makes sense. I don't know. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas, and see many other great ideas I share using Stampin' Up! Products. If you're watching my video on YouTube, look for the links in my video description below. And to receive some extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, be sure to get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.